In this video, I'm going to give you a little bit of analogy, a little bit of real talk, a little bit of advice on using what I call the string method to make sure you never lose momentum in your fitness or your fat loss journey. Because one of the biggest challenges that I see people face is dealing with these periods where they're constantly on their plan, off their plan, on their plan, off their plan, or at least feeling like that way. And having this like on or off switch in their brain when it comes to seeing results, making progress, doing the things they know they need to be doing versus falling completely off and not doing any of those things. And so after listening to this video or during this video, you're going to know or have just a different perspective, hopefully, on how to use this string method or this string analogy to make sure that doesn't happen to you anymore. And this all was sparked by this conversation I was having with somebody actually in the I Thrive Collective, which is my like group coaching membership. So we were talking a little bit about her situation. And I'm not going to go into details, but she's dealing with a lot of stuff in her life, challenges in the home, and this and that. And it's making it really, really hard for her to do the things that she knows she needs to be doing to see the type of progress that she wants. And 9 times out of 10, when I see people deal with this, they have this urge to just completely abandon all these habits they're trying to implement, whether it be maybe they're dealing with some kind of loss in their job, they have a career shift, or maybe it's a pet that they lose, or a family member, or a relationship, or whatever the life stress that's going on that's getting in your way. Or maybe it's even just maybe nothing that's extremely like emotional, but maybe it's practically, like with school starting up soon, maybe your kids have sporting events and this and that, and you're busy with that. And you feel like, checking off all these boxes for the next, few weeks, couple of weeks, the next month feels really hard. So you kind of flip this switch in your brain and you flip it to the off position where, okay, you know what? Now's not the good time for me to focus on my fat loss. Now's not a good time to focus on my weight loss. Now's not a good time to focus on my health. I'm going to just flip that switch to off, out of sight, out of mind, and pick back up, when life calms down. And this is the number one reason why we have so many people in the United States or even across the world who have lost a significant amount of weight throughout their lifetime, but they always tend to gain the weight back. And it's because every time you start to see a little bit of progress or gain a little bit of momentum, you let something in your life kill all of that momentum and kill all of those habits you have. And you give yourself this like pass of, okay, like now my brain, when it comes to focusing on my health, is off. And now, I'm going to pick back up when life kind of calms down. But I want you to think about this string method to where it's not an on or off switch when it comes to focusing on your health, focusing on these habits, focusing on your fitness, your fat loss, or your weight loss. It's more so, let's say you have this balloon, and this balloon, it's filled up with a bunch of helium, so it wants to, fly up to the sky, whatever you want to say. And instead of one string pulling that balloon down that you're holding onto, let's say that balloon has like 10 different strings tied onto it. And those 10 different strings represent every habit that you have been building, that you have been trying to implement, or that you have implemented, or that you're trying to achieve your fat loss or fitness or weight loss goal. So for example, you have one string that represents getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. You have another string that represents stress management. You have another string that represents hitting your calorie goal. You have another string that represents hitting your protein goal. You have another string that represents hitting or eating like 3 balanced meals a day. You have another string that represents hitting your step goal. Another one that represents maybe you're getting your workouts. You get the gist. You have all these strings holding this one big, huge balloon down, which that balloon represents you being quote unquote on track or the progress you're trying to reach and make. And when you're dealing with these crazy life circumstances, like I said, whether it's, a loss in the family, a pet loss, family member loss, maybe it's a relationship thing, maybe it's a career change that's stressful, maybe it's you having to like move because maybe your spouse or partner has a career change where they have to move and that's causing you a lot of stress. Whatever is going on, whatever you're dealing with, you want to at least just make sure that you're holding on to at least one of those strings. Doesn't matter if it's 3, 4, 5 of those strings, all of those strings, just at least hold on to one and have that be your kind of rock or your anchor, that no matter what's going on in your life, you're going to do that one thing. And it could be making sure you have 3 balanced meals a day with a protein, a fruit, a vegetable, and a carb. It could be making sure you're estimating your intake at least, or tracking, super accurately to at least get that calorie range. But maybe your protein intake is kind of off, or maybe your step goal is off, and maybe your workouts are off, but you're at least hitting that calorie range. Maybe your calories are all messed up, your protein is all over the place, but you're at least still getting in your regular 3 lifting days or your 3 workout days a week. Maybe your workouts are off and your nutrition, all that stuff. Stress management, sleep is way off, but you're at least still taking that 10-minute walk first thing in the morning to help clear your head. Find that one string that no matter how much life hits the fan, you are able to still hold on to. And holding on to that one string is going to make the biggest difference when it comes to pulling that balloon back down and being able to retie those other strings, right? Because if you let go of every single string that's tied to that balloon is going to go up and it's going to become so far high up in the sky that it's going to be out of reach. And that represents your progress you're trying to make, the habits you're trying to build. They go away if you let all of them get thrown to the wayside when life gets crazy. But if you can stick to just one of those, that is going to keep that momentum around. It's going to keep also you in that mentality of, okay, this is a part of my life. No matter if my life is going smoothly, no matter if my life is hitting the fan, no matter how busy I am, no matter how not busy I am, I'm going to at least have this one habit be a part of my life going forward. And then as time goes on, as you progress further in your fitness journey, in your fat loss journey, you end up being able to have 2 of those strings be a part of your life no matter what. No matter what you're going through, a death in the family, a death of a pet, whatever it is, you're able to have 2 of those strings always held onto that balloon. And then as you go even further, as you get even further in your fitness or your fat loss journey, more habits start to become a part of your life. And then when shit hits the fan, you have 3 strings holding that balloon down. And the further you go on, the further you force yourself to at least have one string tied onto that balloon, no matter what, the easier it gets to make sure you always have 2 strings. And the easier it gets to make sure you always have 3. And then over time, shit can hit the fan in your life and you might still have 80% of the boxes you're trying to check off naturally happen in your life because it's just become a part of who you are now. So, if you're somebody who's always dealing with these periods of time where, okay, I'm on my diet, I'm on my workouts, I'm on my nutrition, I'm seeing progress, and then stuff gets crazy and you let all of these habits just drop off because you feel like sticking with all of them feels so overwhelming, put less pressure on yourself to keep all of them in. Give yourself permission to drop some of these habits off if you need to, right? If you don't need to and you could still execute and hit these things, your workouts, your steps, your calories and protein, if you can hit all those, even with, negative things going on in your life, then by all means, do that. But if you feel like you have to give some things up, at least keep one of those things around. And if you do that, it will at least probably prevent you from going completely backwards. It will prevent you from losing all of your momentum, and it will also keep that balloon in sight to where you can see it, to where even though you're not hitting all of your workouts, you're not doing everything perfectly, you can still see that balloon and it still feels like it's right in reach and you haven't felt like you completely fell off. These on or off switches with this mentality that we've built with fat loss needs to go, and we need to be okay with not necessarily executing 100%, but still having some piece of those habits stick around. Now, you have to adjust your expectations, obviously, And if you're not nailing all of your variables, or at least to like 85% to 90% of them, then you have to adjust your expectations to your progress, right? You can't expect 100% of the progress, or you can't expect to make 100% of the progress when you're not nailing 100% of the variables. But you can at least maintain your progress. And that at least prevents that vicious cycle of constantly losing weight, gaining weight back, losing weight, gaining weight back, that so many people struggle with. So this was the advice I gave to her. And she said it really resonated with her and it really helped because she's going through a really hard time and just like putting less pressure on herself to do everything and just realizing and remembering if she can just hold on to one of those strings, that is far better than nothing. And it's going to keep her on this track or on this path of just like staying on this journey of, okay, my health is important to me. My fat loss is important to me, versus always just jumping off and having it not be important and then having it be the most important thing for a few weeks and then having it not be important at all. So hopefully this helped. Hopefully this analogy kind of got you thinking. And also too, just to kind of go on this a little bit more, this is why having something that will force you to keep one of those strings attached is so important. And what I mean by this is something maybe even externally that keeps you engaged with the process. This could be a podcast that you're subscribed to that every week you refresh and a new podcast episode is on. Shameless plug, Your Dream Body and Life podcast by me. You can subscribe to an Apple Podcast or Spotify. But maybe it's not me. Maybe it's a different health and fitness podcast. But having something that you subscribe to, having somebody on social media that you check often with who gives a lot of really helpful tips when it comes to fitness, nutrition, fat loss that you can check in with. And that reminds you to, I need to put some of these things first. Even if I can't do everything, at least do something. Or it could be a Facebook group like this one and watching these videos and coming back and rewatching them even if ones that you've already watched before, like come back and watch them again to get reminded of things and to keep like these goals and this journey present mind for you. Also too, the best way to get yourself to make sure you're holding on to one string at all time, at least, especially during tough times in your life, is to financially invest into something. And this is one reason why, my one-on-one clients are so successful, is because when they have stuff like this, where life hits the fan and they go through life difficulties, like one, we've committed to this coaching relationship, them and I, for me to help them through this stuff. But also too, like they are investing in their health financially. And by doing so, that kind of gives you that extra nudge and forces you to actually commit to at least something, even if you're not perfect. And this is also why, like this I Thrive Collective group that I created, why it's so important to me that I did create it, because it is an option that, is a lower investment than one-on-one coaching. Obviously, you don't get the full support as one-on-one coaching. You don't get the full detailed weekly check-ins. You don't get, the access to communicate with me as often in the I Thrive Collective, but you still get some, and you still get the weekly Q&As. You still get the community support. You still get the videos, the classroom, the courses on how to do this stuff, go through fat loss phase and this and that. You can still ask any question, in there that you need help with. But most importantly, it's a low barrier to entry option to like invest something financially to keep you engaged in periods of life where like you don't want to be engaged. And, if you can force yourself to, I'm going to join the collective, and this isn't supposed to be a shameless plug, but I'm going to join the collective. I'm going to join some kind of other group that financially makes me, have some skin in the game. And I commit to sticking with that and staying in that group, no matter how busy my life gets, no matter how often I feel like I'm not taking advantage of all the resources in the group. I'm still going to financially invest in this, because by doing so, I'm going to see that come out of my bank account, and I'm going to see, I should probably check out this stuff this month or this week or this day. And that's going to keep you going. So if you really struggle with every time life gets busy, you don't want to financially invest in a coach, in your health, or some kind of group that's going to help you, or program, whatever it is. And like I said, might be someone else other than me. But if you find yourself every time life gets busy of like, oh, like it's busy, so I don't want to waste my money and do this, that's the exact reason why you can't make progress. You have to financially invest in your health and coaching in this stuff when life is hard, because that's what's going to get you to actually stick to some of these habits, to hold on to at least one of these strings, to see progress long term and avoid that constant yo-yoing back and forth that you're currently doing. So hopefully this was eye-opening and helpful. If you are interested in joining the iThrive Collective or one-on-one coaching, send me a message. We'd love to give you some more info on that. But that's it for today. Hopefully this was a good wake-up call. Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one.